Hey everyone, welcome to Not Your Typical Couple in New York City, Episode 4.
Hi everyone! Wow, episode 4.
Time flies.
I know, it's been exactly a month since our first episode. I remember when we started out living this quarantine lifestyle, every day just seems to feel like the same. It's not until when we started this video recording and also our YouTube channel that we started to look forward each weekend and kind of recording a little video journal to ourselves and share with our friends. And since our last episode, we received many nice messages.
Nice and kind messages.
Yeah, from our friends and family. So thank you guys again for your support. Today, what are we going to talk about?
Today our topic is Effie's career.
Yeah, so last episode we touched a little bit on Lincoln's career or the conundrum that he's currently facing. Today we thought, let's share more about my career or what I basically do outside of video making and all that fun stuff. Not that my career is not fun. It is both fun and challenging.
So maybe the first question is, Effie, what is your career?
What is my career?
Yeah.
So yeah, just to caveat, I've only been doing my current job for a little more than a year. So whatever I'm going to share today is by no means, coming from expert or it's not a lecture by no means. So we just wanted to kind of share a little bit of, what it's like to be working the field that I'm currently working in right now, and maybe some sort of, some tips or things that I learned throughout my short 1 year with my, current career path. So if that sounds good, let's start. I know, Lincoln, you are going to fire some questions to me today. So what is the first question?
First question is, what do you do every day?
What do I do every day? So my, just to caveat a little bit, so I am a change management consultant, and I've only been doing this for a little over a year. So what I'm about to share or whatever that Lincoln might ask is more around sort of my personal understanding of the field and also what I learned this year.
Okay, so really, who are your clients? Big firms or governments, or who are they?
Yeah, so interesting question. So a lot of people, when they first heard about change management consulting, they kind of think, oh, so you guys are consultants. So you're like traveling Monday through Thursday, and you are working primarily on client sites and solving all kinds of challenges. That's not actually something that I'm familiar with. So there are a lot of consulting firms out there who have a lifestyle like that and who also, probably have, change management capability. But the place where I work, we don't really travel Monday through Thursday, which I do like. But the client-wise, we typically work with, big companies, and most of them are Fortune 500 companies. In that sense, it's very similar to a lot of other consulting firms.
So you mean like Fortune 500 companies?
Mm-hmm.
So are you working mainly with like the CEOs? I know those like management consulting firms like BCG or like McKinsey. They usually like work with the CEOs or the CFOs to do the structure change or financial plannings. So usually, who are your clients within the firm?
Yeah, so without, of course, I can't really
Detail.
indulge in a lot of client details, but we do work with, a lot of the programs that we were brought in to solve or to work on are usually C-suite sponsored programs. So we deal with just all kinds of change management topics. So just to give you some high-level examples. For example, if a firm recently went through merger and acquisition or spin-off, there's a structural change, And with that, a lot of people are thinking, like you just said, there must be a lot of process consultation or implementation in place. So that's sort of what we understood as the technical part of change. But what we do, we deal with the human side of change. So if you think about a firm that recently went through any sort of change, right? For example, a new CEO, M&A spin-off, just as I mentioned, people in that firm, they are sometimes the most impacted, not sometimes, pretty much all the time, are the most impacted group of people who are, expected to continue their day-to-day job, but also, to embrace the new entity or new structure, new process. So we typically were brought in to consult on the change of behaviors or change of mindsets.
Okay, I know you have like degrees in psychology, into you talking about like changes about people. Like that's why like most of your colleagues coming from like psychology background.
Yeah, I would say a lot of that's one thing I do like about my current industry or the place where I work, is that a lot of people do have a foundational understanding of the human psychology, but not all of us are from psychology background. Even for me, even though I studied organizational psychology for my graduate degree, I didn't necessarily study psychology in my undergrad, nor did I do anything psychology related before this job. So I would say definitely the understanding of the basic human psychology is important, and is something, the element that we will take full consideration when we design a change program or deploy any sort of change network. But that's not necessarily a hard requirement.
Okay, so what is like skill set like for the change management consultant?
Yeah, great question. So I think that this feels like a job interview
Yeah,
now.
it's like job interview.
Yeah, but I would say, from my personal understanding, for any sort of for anyone who's out there and considering doing consulting, or just have that natural curiosity towards consulting what they do, for us, I think we are unique in a sense that we deal with human side of problems and challenges. You need to leverage a certain level of empathy. So we use a framework which a lot of people probably have heard of, is human-centered design. So we put human in the center, and we empathize, we understand, we try to understand what people in that position are thinking and living and feeling every day. So I would say skill sets with, number one, you need to be a people person. Not to say that you have to, socialize every day or appear to be bubbly and just, so good with people, but at least you have empathy towards the other person who's working in the position. Sometimes that person might be your client, your day-to-day client contact, or the group or the team that you're helping your client to support. So just having that basic, empathetic mindset is very important.
Got it. And you just mentioned that you have been working in your current firm for more than 1 year. So how's your feeling so far?
How do I feel about it so far? I mean, I really like it. When I first started, doing my job hunting, I don't know if I shared this with you. I'd always thought about, or I try to envision myself in a firm before I apply or do my research. So sometimes when I come across a firm that, even just looking at their website, and if the aesthetic really speaks to me, I'll be like, oh, I can see myself there. Or if a place where they speak a human language, or so it's distinguish themselves from a strictly like corporate speak, a traditional corporate environment, and I find people there, they do walk the talk, meaning everyone just you feel like you're surrounded by a group of human beings, and also we have a creative team. So I really like working with creative, or people who have great creative skills or creative vision. So that's something that I find very inspiring in my day-to-day job as well. So yeah, it's been a really fun journey.
Wow, good. You talk a lot about of the pros. Can you give me more about what is the other side, the cons?
Yeah, sure. Definitely. So I think, in terms of the cons of working in consulting in general, there's definitely the downside to just the nature of working in consulting industry, I would say. So, just to understand that we're in client service industry, meaning that a lot of times, like, you need to prioritize your clients' challenges or concerns, and which sometimes involves, like, for example, I worked on a project where our clients are really, really hardworking, which I definitely appreciate. But sometimes, when you see emails coming from a client, at all odd hours, and sometimes you might be thinking, wow, like, how do I then organize my own life? So there are some challenging moments where I find a little bit hard to sort of prioritize. But I feel like that's the nature of working in that industry for sure. Another downside I could think of is for anyone who prefers to work in a more steady, or who prefers to have a set process to work on. Like, sorry, I'm looking at you. You're probably thinking, you mean me, right?
Yeah.
Or let me rephrase. Actually, I think for someone who perhaps prefer a little bit more steadiness in their work, you might find working in consulting industry a little bit challenging, just because our clients,
Unpredictable.
yeah, sometimes the situation you're in can be unpredictable, or it's the nature of you're in client services. Sometimes you are not 100% in sync with your client situation, and you're not there with them. So when new problems keeps thrown at you, and you just have to be very nimble and flexible and think on your feet a little bit. Some of my hardest moments when I first joined was, when I was on client calls, and I would put my shoes in the person who's hosting the call, and I would say, wow, if the client throw me that kind of question on the spot, I would probably freeze in that moment. I wouldn't be able to think on my feet as quickly.
Got it. You will give a very good, great introduction of what you're doing and both the pros and cons of this job. I think our audience learn a lot about this. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for your interview questions.
My pleasure.
You make me feel like I'm, sitting in front of an interviewer and trying to re-examine me and trying to sell what I do every day. It's been an interesting conversation, and the one that I'm hoping sort of we can, make it ongoing conversation. Even for us, we don't necessarily sit down and talk through our careers with each other. So I definitely appreciate this time and the opportunity, and hopefully you guys find it helpful as well. And if not, let us know. Give us some feedback. And don't forget to subscribe. And thank you.
Yep.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.